British government today have officially removed the independence of our courts in looking at our past. And make no mistake about the human impact that this has, because on a day like today we could easily fall into the trap of talking about the legalities and the mechanisms and the best way of dealing with our past. But for me, the most important part of today is the fact that this has been absolutely devastating for families, for loved ones, and for multiple generations of families who have simply asked a question: why was my loved one killed? How were they killed? And demanding truth and demanding justice. The reason why the British government are here today has been there in plain sight. They haven't even attempted to hide this. They have made it clear that this is about protection, and protection of their agents, of their workers, of their systems that they had in place. And as I say, they make no secret about that whatsoever. They have as much interest in the families who are here today, families right across these islands, as they had in the loved ones whose lives they took, or certainly they were culpable in taking. Because as our courts have shown, as the independent bodies have shown time and time again, case after case, investigation after investigation, the British state's hand was there in plain sight in relation to hundreds and hundreds of killings over the course of our conflict. And as I talk here today, we know that we live in a world where the people of Gaza are being slaughtered on a daily basis. Now more than ever, we need countries to make a commitment to the principles of democracy, the principles of truth and justice and law and order. And the British government are showing their intent today as they fly in the face of natural order, of natural justice, and they say to our courts that they have no role, that they say to the families there shall be no independent voice or analysis as we look into our past. But make no mistake, this is not at the end of the road for the families today. Families who are standing beside me today, my own family included, and families right across these islands, are well used to having obstacles put in place by the British government over numerous decades. They are used to standing against the might of a British state. But what they do have, which is what the British government don't have and will never have, is that they have right on their side. They have the solidarity of everybody standing together. They have international opinion. They have every single political party outside of the Conservative Party in England on their side. So if today is the end, it's the end of the fact that this legislation will not be here for much longer. It's already been tested in our domestic courts and has been shown to be flawed. We await the outcome of the intergovernment state case taken by the Irish government, and all international independent legal analysis calls this legislation for what it is: a sham, a delayed tactic, an attempt to tell families that they do not deserve truth and justice, an attempt to tell families that their loved ones are not worth the effort of our court's investigation. Well, we stand here today and we say no. We say that we will not accept this, and we say that we demand truth and justice. We await to see whether a British Labour government, if they are elected in the next election, stand by their commitment to repeal this legislation. Because our voice, since this legislation has been announced, is one that has not been ignored or has not been dismissed, because we do have power in our collective voice. And so the message from here today is that we are not going away, we are not giving up. Every single one of our loved ones deserves nothing less, and we will continue to fight for truth and fight for justice. Go on, Melvin.
There have been many landmarks in highlighting the cruelty of the British government. For any of you who've seen the documentary on the Brown killing, it would have taken blood from a stone when you listen to John Brown's widow saying about going out and looking for his body, searching for his body with a flash lamp, knowing something was wrong but not knowing what. And if you flip that coin, the documents that were given to the court by way of an explanation that were blank sheets of paper added cruelty to injury. Damien Brown is our next speaker.
On the night that my grandfather was so cruelly taken from us, he performed an act which he had undertaken hundreds of occasions, an act which is undertaken in every single club in Ireland, every single night that children play their games on our pitches. He locked the club's gates. Not only was he locking the club gates, he had made the club gates, as well as dedicating his adult life to the GAA. He was an educator at the Technical College in Ballymena. Many young men from South Derry with successful businesses owe their trade to Sean Brown. Sean Brown was murdered by members of the Loyalist Volunteer Force on the 12th of May 1997. He was 61 years old and left his widow Brady and their 6 children. He was the chairman of his club Balahi, Wolftones GAC. After an agonising 10.2 mile journey to Ralstown, he was dragged from the car, beaten. He was then killed with 6 bullet wounds to his head. Sean was found abandoned beside his own burnt out car, his body also partially burnt from the intense heat of the flaming vehicle. As our native Irish custom dictates, Sean's widow Brady insisted on an open coffin, asserting that everyone should see what their attackers had done to her husband. No one has ever been brought to charge with Sean's murder. Successive investigations and reviews by police ombudsman, the HET and even the PSNI have proven an object of frightening litany of failings evident in the original RUC investigation. At successive court hearings in November and December, we were insulted with derogatory submissions asserting, in short, that the state cannot discharge their legal obligations. We were confronted with the frankly disgraceful event of the NAO applying for 5 public interest immunity certificates, 3 of which assert public interest immunity on behalf of MI5. We rhetorically ask, what interest do MI5 have in Sean's murder, such that they require to withhold relevant information from the family? Indeed, why did Special Branch have give permission for the arrest on 18th of June 1987? Who made the decision to cease surveillance on Swinger Fulton at 5 o'clock on the day of Sean's murder to recommence the next day? Why has the Secretary of State judicially reviewed the scant mid-disclosure that was provided to us by a gist which confirmed that state agents were involved in Sean's murder? How many state agents? Who handled them? How much were they paid? The sensitive information has been redacted in lever arch folders of black redacted pages, has been read out and considered by a High Court judge. Whatever that judge has read has compelled him to review that the only legal mechanism to discharge the state's legal obligations is by convening a public inquiry. He has directed that such the sensitivity of what he has read that the ICRIR is not a suitable mechanism to investigate Sean's murder. The Chief Constable has said that he does not oppose a public inquiry. Why then has the Secretary of State refused to reply to the direction of a High Court judge, and who has instead embarked on a series of fictitious judicial review applications designed to wind the clock down while wasting valuable public funds? What does the Secretary of State have to hide? As a family, as a club, as a community, we can no longer hold our dignified silence. We are furious at the treatment we are being exposed by those who present the state. The deliberate delaying tactics that have proved so successful for the state agencies to this point have realised their objective. When families do not have access to the court, justice is dead. Justice has been bound and gagged, but families will never stop working to set the truth free.